right, I just had a great exchange with a member of the HST Studio One Support Facebook group, and he asked some really good questions, and I thought it would make a good video, especially for the 3 different ways I showed him how to make a couple of things stop happening. So if you read the thumbnail at the beginning of the video, there's a couple of things that I'm going to show you here. So now, if I go to the little wrench, you can see here I have an option called input, instrument input follow selection, and then one that says audio input follow selection. So now those are cool for some things, but for many people, it is so distracting to drag in an instrument and have it arm itself. And then you really don't have the ability to choose none. It's going to make one of these the default if you select it, but it's not going to choose none by itself. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But there we go. There's an instrument there. It's automatically armed. I really don't want to record on that track yet. I'm going to drag in another instrument. Oh, my God, it's armed again by itself. I really don't want to record on that instrument yet, and we'll do one with presence. Now, in a point when you're actually doing tracking and you're being careful with what you're seeing, okay? If you select on any of the instrument tracks, it's really cool that it arms itself. But if you're not watching and you arm another track, you are now accidentally recording on 2 tracks. And sometimes you lose data, you forget, you don't realize it happened because you might have some stuff muted. And sometimes, if you're not doing 1 track at a time, you clicked up here and you say, okay, I want to record on my presence track, and you just stay there. Now you don't realize that you're recording on that. So the solution for that, obviously, is going to be clicking on the little wrench and saying instrument input follow selection. So now we don't want that to happen. So now when you click on a track, it's not going to automatically arm. So now you have to deliberately know where you're going to be recording and disarm and rearm. Okay. So whether it's on or whether it's off is up to you as far as your workflow. Some people like to have it on. They just click on a track and record on it. Click on another track and record on it. If they turn that on, let's actually do that. Click on this track and record on it. Click on this track and record on it. It just happens instantaneously. You can just keep moving with your workflow. But if you're doing things one at a time like I do, that's a real pain in the butt. Okay, so now the other one is audio input follow selection. This is what he really had a question of, and I just thought it was a great example. So let me go ahead and highlight these. I'm going to remove selected tracks and instruments. So now, if you're dragging in a loop from a loop library, or you're dragging in a song that you have to remaster or add tracks to, if you create an audio track, it's automatically armed. If you create another audio track, it's automatically armed, and so on and so forth. And when you click on these, if you're not being careful, you're up here and you want to record on this track, suddenly you're going to erase everything up there. Now, it's not like you can't undo it, but it can get frustrated when you have to go back and you're like, well, I have to undo a whole bunch of things just to get that track back. Okay, so then the option here is to turn this off. So if you drag in a loop or you drag in another song, when it goes in, it's going to automatically arm unless you turn this off. Okay, all right, so the last thing now. This was something that I had added because the other question he had, let me right click and say remove selected tracks. There we go, it's gone. So if you drag in an instrument, let's actually take impact. Boom. It's automatically going to select all inputs. Unless you go to Studio One Preferences or Settings on a PC, and you go into one of the instruments that you want to make the default. So if I actually choose my Atom SQ to be the default, I can actually double click on that and I can choose default instrument input. So now this is cool if you want to do this. So now when I drag in an instrument, it's going to default to the Atom SQ, and then I can select something or none afterwards. But you can't do that with the none selection. So there is a workaround for this, and I think it's pretty cool. And so if I go here to preferences, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an instrument. I'm going to create an external device, but I'm going to call it DEFAULT, no input. So what that's going to do is I don't have to see if I can type right here. There we go. So now I'm going to leave it at none. I'm going to leave it at none, but I am going to say default instrument input. And I'm going to click OK and see there it added it. Now the cool part of this is if you don't want it to trigger anything, when you add the instrument, so you move track and instrument, now when you drag it in, it's going to default to the default no input. So even if it's armed, you won't accidentally trigger anything until you change it to an input. Just like that. So now, hold on. Here we go. My keyboard wasn't working. But if it is set on the default no input, nothing gets triggered, and you don't have to worry about triggering anything without you deciding first. The other thing that's good for this, if you are going to go ahead and use the instrument input follow selection like this, there we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove track and instrument. So now when you bring it in, it's going to automatically arm, but it's set to the no input so that you can go ahead and decide the PS49. And you can go to presence and you can drag that in and you can decide the, let's go with the Atom SQ and so on and so forth. So now, do you have to do that? No, you can just change it, whatever it's set to by default. But it's kind of nice to be able, if you are using the feature of instrument input follow selection, to be able to turn off an input. Let's see if I can do this here. There we go. Default no input, so that you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to accidentally, actually trigger something. See, it's not going to do anything there. I was hitting the keys expecting you to see it. You guys get the idea. So those are 3 ways to improve your workflow if it works for you. The first one was instrument input follow selection. The second one was audio input follow selection. Make sure that they're unchecked if you don't want automatic arming of your tracks when you select them. There you go. And the second one was creating a no input external device so that you don't have to worry about something automatically being selected for you if you decide you don't want to make another device the default input. There you go. What do you think? What do you think? All right. So that should take care of it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and if you have any better ideas or something to add to what I've done here, please go ahead and leave a comment in the comments area, and I'll make another video showing what your suggestion is. So I hope that it helped Rob, and I hope that it helped you. So please leave your comments, and I will see you all in the next video.
Become a member and support Home Studio Trainer live streams and videos today. Click the join button at the bottom of every live stream or video. You'll find it right next to the subscribe button. There are 3 levels for every budget, and they all have unique perks that go along with them. The $1.99 level is for dedicated members who will get continued access to all regular videos and live streams. You will also receive badges and emojis to show you how long you've been a member. The $4.99 level is for the awesome dedicated members. These members will get early access to upcoming videos and live streams, as well as member-only content unavailable to non-members. And finally, the $9.99 level is for the super dedicated members. These members will have access to all of the other levels, including free one-on-one Skype or Zoom training. Free help and support sessions will also be available, as well as direct personal videos to answer any questions about home recording or Studio One specifically. A direct phone number option for quick calls or to set up a training and help session will be available upon request. Thank you so much for supporting Home Studio Trainer on YouTube.